Let's start with the guidance. What does the guidance say?
So the guidance is actually very simple. It has 4 points. The first point is that if a policy doesn't exclude war, that it must exclude war, whether war be declared or not. This means if there's a London excess policy, but the primary excludes war, no additional war language is required. If the primary language is insufficient with regard to war as a risk, the Lloyd's layers must add an exclusion.
If I'm a client and I want to understand whether my assets are covered by this exclusion or not, if there is a war and my assets are in the country where that war occurs, am I covered?
So assets being in a country where there is a war is not sufficient to trigger any of those exclusions. The assets have to be damaged by the war, and in that case, they would be excluded. It goes on to say a second point, which is that you must exclude certain state-sponsored cyber attacks, but that they have to have a very high threshold of damage. You have to exclude state-sponsored cyber attacks that either A, results in significantly impaired security capabilities of a state, or which reduces the ability of the state to function as a state. And by state, we mean sovereignty. So pretty high threshold of damage. And then the other points are, just to be clear as to the scope and use defined terms, and also ensure that there is a robust system for establishing whether or not the exclusion can be applied or not. That can usually be accomplished with a strong disputes resolution clause.